other than a
A
square root
function is a function which is independent variable is under the square root, which means we said before, independent means input, the value of x, right? It should be under the sign for the square root. Then I put for you here two examples. The first example, y equal square root 2x plus 3, right? Where did you find root 3 يا ريتاج? Here, x, sorry. Where you can find x? Did you see?
yes,
This is
2x.
under the square root sign. So this one, we can call that this one is a square root function. Second example, 4 plus root x. So where you can find x? Where you can find x? Under the square root, right? So once you will find the x under the square root, so this is called what? Square root functions. Okay? But look at the other side. X is under the square root sign?
No.
No. Here in this one, it's a square root 4x. X is out. So this one, it will be a square root, or this one is, it will be a square root function?
No, it will
No,
not.
it will not be a square root function because we have an x outside the square root sign. So this is the first part, to determine only if this one is a square root function or it's not a square root function. Then, I give you a question here. Determine whether y equal 5 plus square root x over 2. If this one represents now a square root function or not?
Yes, because the x is under the
sign. Thank you so much. So this is the first part. We have to know something. To find answer for a square root number, yani, let me say something. If you have a square root 25, if you have a square root 0, if you have a square root negative 25, we can find answer for the first one, square root 25.
Yes, x is less than or equal to.
No, I'm talking in general now. I'm sharing the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so square root 25. What is the square root of 25? Equal how many?
5. 5.
It's 5, right? What is the square root of 0?
0.
0. What is the square root of negative 25?
5.
Nothing. Meaningless. Meaningless.
Okay.
5. We don't have anything. Right? Why? Because we can't find two numbers. When you will multiply them together, it will give you negative 25. Right? So this one is not correct. We can't accept any number under the square root with negative number. So this one, it's not belong to the real number. Then, if we will back to talk about the domain give me the number which we can substitute the value of x by using it to give us answer. Okay, so this number, but for the value of x, give me the numbers which we can satisfy this expression to don't be meaningless. So how we can answer? We will cut the part or the expression under the radical sign first. We said when the number was positive, we can find the answer. When the number 0, we can find answer. When the number is negative, we can find the answer, right? This is what we said.
Yes.
When the number positive, we can find answer. When number is 0, we can find answer. When the number is positive, we can find answer. For this reason, we said to find the domain, so the value of x should be more than or equal 0. So this is our condition. Why? Because we can find the answer with 0. We can find the answer with positive number, but we can't. If it's less than 0, so the answer it will be, or the number it will be negative. and this, it will make the question meaningless or has no meaning. Then to deal with the domain, satisfy this inequality. Okay? Then now I want to find the domain for the first question. It's x plus 5. So I'm going to cut the expression under the radical sign, which is x plus
X plus 5.
5 should be more than or equal 0. Right? Now we will answer this inequality. You have two ways to add the additive inverse of both sides, negative 5 and negative 5. Right? Now we will add, then x more than or equal negative 5. Right? So the
Yes.
answer, it will be now for the domain, to find the domain. So the domain will be all real numbers, right? More than or equal what?
X.
That more than or equal what?
Negative 5.
Yes. Negative 5. More than or equal negative 8, negative 5. Which means if you are going to find any number more than or equal negative 5, it will satisfy your inequality. So let's check. If you will try with negative 5 now, it will be negative 5 more than or equal negative 5. It will satisfy this relation. I want to satisfy it here. So I have the square root. We can take negative 5, so it will be negative 5 plus 5. It will be how many? Square root 0, and we can find answer, right? So give me any number greater than negative 5. Give me any number greater than negative 5. Yes,
Okay.
Debolina.
-4.
Okay, so if I would replace the value of x here by negative 4, I would put negative 4 plus 5. It will be equal how many? Square root 1, which it will be 1, right? But if you will choose a number not satisfy this inequality, like a number less than negative 5, could you please give me a number less than negative 5? Give me a number less than negative 5.
Negative 6.
Okay, negative 6. So I will satisfy the value of x here by negative 6 plus 5. So the answer, it will be how many? It will be negative 1, right? And we can accept negative 1, grade 9. Square root negative 1, it will give us answer. It's not
No.
belong to the real number, right? For this reason, we said that we have to satisfy this inequality. It should be more than or equal 0. And we can write the answer by this way. The domain will be all real numbers more than or equal negative 5. And we can write it in a mathematical way, like closed negative 5 and all the numbers till the end. We can donate it by which sign? Did you remember? The infinity. So the answer, we can write it like this. The domain will be all real numbers more than, or close the negative 5, which means negative 5, it is apart from our answer, until the end, all the numbers which is bigger than negative 5. Okay, understood this part? Understood this part, grade 9?
Yes, miss. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next question. This question, we are looking for the domain. How we will find the domain now? Who will help me to find the answer? How we will find the domain? What we have to do? what we have to do to find the domain? We have to satisfy an inequality. How? 4x minus 12, because we cut the number under the radical sign. Then more than or equal how many, grade 9?
X
0.
0
We
0.
cut the part under the radical sign and we wrote 4x minus 12 more than or equal 0. Now we will add 12 and we will add 12. Then it will be 4x more than or equal 12. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. Then x is more than or equal how many? More than or
3
equal 3. Then what is the domain in this question?
3.
What is the domain in this question? We have to write what?
All real numbers.
Yes, very good. Greater than
Greater
or equal 3.
or 2 3.
Okay? All real numbers greater than or equal 3. If I want to write it in a mathematical way, so we have to make closed 3 and then positive infinity, which means we are going to extend till the end of the numbers, right? So we can write the answer by this way. All the set of all real numbers greater than or equal 3, or we can write it in this way, in a mathematical way, 3 and positive, close this 3 and positive infinity. Okay, if this was your question,
Yes,
Ritesh?
miss. Yes,
Okay,
thank you so much.
you're welcome, honey. What else, grade 9? What else, grade 9? You know how we can make the domain for this question? You know how we can make the domain for this question? We will cut what? We will cut the part under the radical sign. So it will be x over 5 more than or equal what? Or equal 0. Now we want to make cross product to say that you multiply 5 both by 5. Then you have x is more than or equal 0. Then the answer will be all real numbers greater than 0 and greater than, sorry, or equal 0. Understood?
Yes.
Okay, 11.6 is talking about radical expressions. It's talking about what? Radical expression. So what is the radical expression? Debolina, read here, Debolina. What is the radical expression?
Yes, I can't see the screen.
You can see it now?
No, miss.
You
Miss,
can?
I think it's due to the net.
I'm sorry?
I think it's due to the net. I have.
Okay, so I will help you. A radical expression is an expression that contains a radical sign. You know what the radical sign? You know what the radical sign, grade 9? This sign is called radical sign. Then the number under the radical sign, if you have any number under the radical sign like this, so we can call it that this one is what? Is radical expression. So this one is what again? Called what? Radical expression. A radical is an expression that contains a radical sign. What is the radical sign? This is called a radical sign. Then any expression, we have expression including this sign, so we can call it that this one is a radical expression. The square root expression is in simplest form. Then once we are going to solve the questions, so we have to put it in simplest form. To say that this expression in simplest form, we have condition. What is the condition? That the radicand has no perfect square factors, the radicand has no fractions, there are no square roots in the denominator. Before we will start, let me revise with you. Did you remember what is the perfect square numbers? What is the perfect square numbers? Grade 9. What is the perfect square numbers? 1 times 1 equal how many?
1,
1. 2 times 2 equal how many?
4,
4.
4,
3 times 3 equal how many? 9.
9,
4
9.
times 4 equal how many?
16,
16. So the next one, it should be 25.
5,
The next one, it should be,
36,
and then
49,
49, right? And then
64,
4, and then
81,
81, yes, and then 100, and then
100.
so and so on, right? This is the perfect square numbers. So from where we have 1, it's 1 squared equal 4, 2 squared equal 4, 3 squared equal 9, 4 squared equal 16, and so on. So this is the perfect square numbers. Then once we want to simplify by using the radical sign, so we will not keep a perfect square number under the radical sign to keep your answer in simplest form. So I divided operations into 2 parts with product property and quotient property. Tomorrow we will talk about adding and subtracting, right? But today we talk about product, which is multiplication, and quotient, which is division. Then with multiplication, you have square root a b. So we can divide it like square root a times square root b. If you have quotient like square root a over b, so we can separate them like square root a over square root b. Let me give you an example. When we have square root 50, and I want to put it in simplest form. I'm not talking about the student which they prefer to work with a calculator. We want to answer it by our mind. Then how we can find the square root 50? We can search first 50. If there any perfect square number here, it is apart from 50, something times something, it will give us 50. One of them is a perfect square number. Then, let me say again, I'm looking for 2 numbers now. Okay? 50 is a perfect square number. 50 is a perfect square number.
No,
No, right? So I'm looking for 2 numbers. One of them, it will be perfect square number. Okay? And the second one is not a perfect square number. Right. You can find 50. Do you see 25? Right? 25 times 2. It will be how many? 25 times 2. It will be how many?
50.
50, right? Then we found a number from the perfect square chart. If we will multiply it by 2 to the answer, it will be equal 50. Now, what is the square root of 25? Square root of 25.
5.
5, yes. So as I said, we can divide it into 2 parts. One of them is perfect and second is not. Then now it's easy to say that I can find the square root of 25. So to be equal 5. And we will keep the second one the same under the radical sign. So the answer now it will be 5 square root 2. Again, if the number wasn't a perfect square number, so we have to search about 2 numbers. One of them is perfect, the other is not perfect. Search in the perfect square number. If you can find it directly, it's okay, 25. If you can't, then you can use another way. Same question, I can solve it by another way. It was square root 50, right? So we can make factorize, like 50 divided by 2. It will be equal how many? 50 divided by 2 equal how many? 25. 25 divided by 5 equal 5. Divided by 5 equal 1. Now we will choose number which we repeated 2 times. Where is the number which we repeated 2 times here in this question?
5.
5, yes? So from 2, I'm going to take only 1, 5. Okay? And I'm going to put it outside. So this one is 5. The number without partner, I'm going to keep it under the radical sign. So the answer will be 5 square root 2. Then to answer the question, you can use one from those two methods. The first method, to search in the perfect square numbers and then find the, divide it into 2 parts and then you will find the answer. If you can't remember with a perfect square number, then you will go and make factorize. But remember that these numbers should be prime numbers, which means I can't divide by 6, I can't divide by 4, should be prime numbers, which can't be divisible by any number except itself or 1. Then you will find the answer, it's 5 square root 2. Understood? Are you with me?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, miss.
Okay. Let me move to the next part, which is square root 3 over square root 49. What did I say with quotient property? With quotient property, what we can do? We can say that we will divide it into 2 parts. So it will be square root 3 over what? Square root 49. You can see square root 3 in perfect square numbers. In the short with, is there any number time itself it will give us 3?
No.
No. If I would try to make factorize for 3, then you will find 3 divided by 3 only equal 1. So I don't have anything. So this one, it's written already in simplest form. So I have to keep it the same. So it will be 3. Right? Now, square root 49. Square root 49. You can find it in the perfect square numbers. Is there any number time itself it will give us 49?
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
is 7. Thank you. Okay, so we found the answer for the question here, which is root 3 over 49. So it will be root 3 over 7. Understood? Let me check with you another part. When we have variables like square root x to the power of 4, what is the answer it will be? When you have x to the power of 4, already square root, we have 2. So if I want to put this variable outside the square root, so what we have to do, we will divide 4 divided by 2, right? So it will be 4 divided by 2 equal how many?
2.
Equal 2. So if I would say something else, what about if I have x to the power of 8? What is the answer it will be?
4.
Yes,
X power
it will
4.
be x power 4. Very good. What about if I have square root x to the power of 12? The answer it will be
6 power of 6.
yes, it will be x power of 6. What about if I have a square root x power 5? How we can solve this question? I
You
will
will
not accept the exponent with decimal number. Then we will divide. This number is odd or even? 5 is odd or even?
Odd.
Odd. So I will find the even number before it directly, which is what? Which is what? 4. Decrease the 5 1, so it will be 4, right? Then now I can divide my answer into two parts. Square root x power 4 times square root x. Now square root x power 4, it will be how many? X power 2. And we have under the radical sign, I have x. Understood this part? When we have a exponent odd number,
Yes, Miss.
okay? Could you please answer this question? If you have a square root x to the power of 9, the answer will be how many? We can find the answer directly. So what we have to do? We will decrease 9 1 to find the closest even number. So it will be x to the power of
X to
8.
the power of 8
Yes,
minus x.
times x, right? And after that,
Yes.
I can simplify x to the power
We
of
will
8.
separate them.
Yes. Now we can make it directly without separating. X power 8, it will be how many? Here I have 2, right? Then 8 divided by 2, it will be x to the power of 4.
4.
And then we will keep x under the radical sign. Okay, so this is how you can deal with the variable. Once we have even, you will divide it by 2 directly. When we have odd, you will decrease 1, and then you will deal with the even number and you will keep the odd under the radical sign. This part, it will help us to answer question like this, for example. 9 square root 9 x power 8 over 25 y power 6. First step, we will divide into 9x power 8 over 25 y power 6. So we said with the product, which multiplication or division, we can divide. Now, who can tell me the answer, please? Square root 9x to the power of 8. Adhan, you can answer this question. Square root 9x to the power of 8. Okay, Laura.
it will be 9x power of 4.
Square root 9, it will be how many?
3.
3. Yes, so it will be 3. And then x
Power of 4.
power 4. Very good. And what about
Or
down? Square root
5.
25, it will be
5 or
5.
5 power of 3.
5 power 3. Very good. That's it. So this is the answer for this question. Okay. What about if I have square root 10 over square root 9? I will divide them. So it will be square root 10 over square root 9. We don't have a number for square root 10. It's not perfect. But we have square root 9 is how many? Is 3.
3.
Right? So we can deal with the numbers even if it's a perfect square or not perfect square. We can deal with a variable and we will simplify to work with radical expressions. Okay, so here this is just an exercise about what we explained today. If there anyone can answer question, for example, question number 12. Question number 12. Huh? Square root 242 x to the power of 2 over 9. يلا هنا. Hannah, what is the first step? Ritesh?
Yes, miss.
What we have to do with this question? First, what we have to do?
We will get the square root of 242.
We will
We will
divide
make
it first, right? 242
242.
x to the power of 2 over square root 9. Okay? After that, we can find square root for 242 equal how many? 242 divided by 2 equal how many? 1, 2, 1. Then divided by 11, it will be 11. Divided by 11, it will be 1. We will take from the 211, we will take 1, so it will be 11. And we will keep 2 under the radical sign. Okay? Or it's
Okay.
121 times 2. Then it will be 11. And don't forget that we have x squared. It will be out with x. And we have under the radical sign, we have 2. And then square root 9, it will be equal 3. Okay? Then you can work with the rest of the questions.